All right. Welcome in to Toilets to Titles, our weekly Patreon waiver wire episode. This is week number 6. I am your host, Coach Sheps, at Coach Sheps on the Twitter of the Toilets to Titles, which is also at Toilets to Titles on the Twitter and toiletstitles.com. Usually Justin is on here doing the waiver wire episodes, but this week I figured, you know what? Let me help the man out. Let me step up. Let me try to get one of these episodes done. And we've been doing these weekly for our Patreon. So go check out patreon.com/toilets-titles. We're releasing it to the general public as well because, it's year one for us. So we're trying to grow our Patreon following by letting everybody know what they have coming to them if they join. We have 3 tiers. Tier 1 is $3. It gets you into our Discord chat, which everybody from the team, all 13 of us are in there. It's 24/7, all fantasy football advice, whatever you throw it in the chat. Tier 2 gets you that, gets you our waiver wire episodes, and get you into Frankenstank next year. Tier 3 gets you all of that. Frankenstank entry next year is free. And there's one more thing for tier 3. Oh, it's one-on-one roster analysis. So that's what it is, man. So today I'm going to be discussing with you all of the players from the waiver wire this week that the dudes at Toilets and Titles believe that you should be picking up and why. Again, we release this usually every Monday night right after Monday Night Football, but this week I'm a little bit late. So I did it Tuesday morning, but hopefully this helps you out. I'm going to get it out right away. Before I do talk about the Patreon, I want to let you know tonight, the Toilets and Titles show, we come live around 8:40, and I was doing a giveaway where if Jonathan Taylor hit 25 fantasy football PPR points last night, we'd be giving away a free Jonathan Taylor jersey. If you find that tweet, the rules are you have to like that tweet and follow Toilets and Titles to get entered for one chance to win it. We're going to randomize the winner tonight on the show. If you are in the live stream when the show kicks off and you comment, we're going to enter you twice. So we'll use random.org. We'll list all the names on there. That's how we'll randomize it. If you were in the live stream tonight around 8:40 when we go live, I'll give you guys about 5 to 10 minutes. You'll be entered twice. All right. So all you got to do is like the tweet that I posted, about Jonathan Taylor. So search for it. I've shared it a bunch of times. Follow Toilets and Titles. That's one way. And then the second way, so you have to do that in order to do the second way. And the second way will be in the live stream. And if you're in the live stream, you get entered twice. So you can win this Jonathan Taylor jersey. We are going to announce it tonight. All right. So let's move on, man. So I'm going to talk about some of last week's successes. Cordero Patterson was a guy we listed, but I think everybody should have known about him just because he's been crushing it. But if he wasn't picked up and you picked him up last week, he did very well. Zach Moss in some leagues, he was still flex worthy. After that, let's see, Bears defense, they did well. They were a top 10 defense in week 5. Dawson Knox, was a guy we mentioned. He was a top 3 tight end for 2 weeks in a row. Hunter Renfrow, 11.6 PPR points. So that was a flex play. Quincy Williams, who I listed in my leagues. So my scoring's a little skewed, so I don't know how it worked in yours, but he was the IDP linebacker number 2 last week. If he's still available, you need to pick him up. The dude is crushing it. And then Sleeper, he's safety eligible. So I started him as a safety. So I was able to start Micah Parsons at linebacker and start Quincy Williams at safety. I don't know why that is, but I'll take it. You know what I mean? Those are the points there. Damian Williams was a top 20 running back last week. Who else? Jameis Winston was a top 5 quarterback. We listed him. The Vikings defense was a top 3 defense. And Chase McLaughlin was a top 10 kicker. So we crushed it last week. All right. So moving on. Players that I listed, Khalil Herbert, he's owned in 4.7% of leagues, which is crazy to me. If you listened to Toilets Titles last week, I was talking about him and saying you should pick him up. I was talking about him all summer. After this week, Herbert will be tough to grab. So I'm assuming that 4.7 is going to go up, but now's your chance to get him. And like I said, listen to Toilets Titles last week. You were on to him last week. He had 18 carries for 75 yards. And I think you're going to see a heavy dose of him until Monty returns, all right? I think he's going to start to get a little bit more of the carries than Damian Williams. Next cat that I listed was Darrell Williams. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has an MCL sprain, and Darrell Williams will step right in for him. Darrell Williams has been there for about 3 years. He's had a few games where he's had a full workload, and he's looked decent. And he knows the offense. He's ready to roll. He's not flashy. He's not a flashy player, but he just does everything good. And I think that's fine. That's good enough in that offense. And I think he'll actually get the job done. I think he'll be a decent RB2 play. If he falls into the end zone, that's going to propel him to RB1 territory. But I think you're going to see about maybe 60 yards in the ground, maybe 3 or 4 catches for about 20 yards. That's 6, 8, that's 11 points. So, and then if you get to the end zone, that's 17. So I think that's what you're going to see from him on a weekly basis. All right. So the players that Justin is listing here. So he has Carson Wentz, who is 5.5% owned. He had a decent game week 4 against Miami. The ankle looked better against the Ravens in the Monday Night Football matchup. Now he gets the Texans, whose offense is really clicking with Davis Mills. Wentz will have to perform to get this Colts team a much-needed divisional win. So Davis Mills, who would have thought? Carson Wentz, Davis Mills shootout, week 6. So pick up Carson Wentz. I think the Houston Texans defense is a decent matchup for him for sure. If you're looking for a bye week replacement, because now we're in week 6. So there's buys, man. There are buys on the board. So if you need somebody, Carson Wentz is there. And then also, that was foreshadowing, Davis Mills. That's his next waiver wire pickup. He's owned in 0.7% of leagues. Davis was a top 5 quarterback against the top 3 pass defense going into this week. So against the Patriots, man, they have a pretty solid defense. We'll see what Dak thinks of that next. This is a rookie quarterback that's the dragon that is Bill Belichick, that traditionally is the rookie quarterback killer. The Colts are among the bottom of the league in pass defense. So Davis Mills, pick him up. All right, Devontae Booker, he's owned in 3.8% of leagues. He will likely be the starter with Barkley out with another ankle injury. All right, faces the Rams this week, who are not very good against running backs. Booker looked good and efficient and is the last man alive for the Giants. So possibly no Daniel Jones, a lot of injured wide receivers, a wide receiver that wants to become a professional MMA fighter, Kadarius Toney. Don't expect much from Booker or this offense, but a starting running back is a starting running back. So along the lines of Darrell Williams, but in a much less powerful offense. Sorry. All right, Mecole Hardman, 41.8% owned. He gets to play against the Washington football team this week, which surprisingly are terrible. And I thought they were going to win the division. And I'm a Cowboys fan. So maybe I was just, reverse psychologying myself. But, man, I'm very surprised. William Jackson has been very poor in coverage against the slot and wide receiver 2 of opposing teams. Kendall Fuller should be on Tyreek. Not that it'll do well against him or anything, but that does free up Hardman against the weaker matchups as usual. But this week's matchup is one that should be exploited. Hunter Henry owned in 35.7% of leagues. Henry has clearly taken over the tight end 1 spot for the Patriots with 19 targets over the last 3 games to Jonnu's 13. Henry also has been more effective and efficient with his targets. Henry faces Dallas in week 6, who only seem to have one real weakness on defense. They have led up the 3rd most points to tight ends in fantasy. A lot of that was week 1 against Gronk, but both Eagles tight ends and Evan Ingram all found some success against the Cowboys. Henry is getting nearly 16% target share over the last 3 games, which is a solid for a streaming tight end. So Hunter Henry, pick him up. Defenses. The Bengals defense, 17.1% owned. The Bengals are almost a top 12 fantasy defense this season and get to face Jared Goff and the Lions, who have given up the 9th most fantasy points this season. The Colts defense, 43.7% owned. The Colts defense is still proven to be a startable defense most weeks. And in week 6, they get to face the Texans, who have given up the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing defenses. All right, so those are 2 defensive plays right there, the Bengals and the Colts. Chris Boswell, 6.3% owned, has only missed 1 kick all season and faces a bend but don't break style of defense against the Seahawks. These defenses are great for opposing kickers because they let them move the ball down the field but tighten things up around field goal range. They're okay with giving up field goals rather than TDs. Plus, Big Ben has lost his ability to consistently play well and can't finish drives like he used to. So Chris Boswell, 6.3% owned. Pick him up. All right, Nate. Who's Nate got for us? All right, Alex Collins. Alley Cat Collins. That's his the nickname Nate is giving him. I like it. All right, Alley Cat Collins. 41.8% owned, up from 0.8% last week. Maybe tough to get with his performance last week, but with Carson's injury history, he's a guy to get if you can. 15 for 47 yards against the Rams, which is a tough defense to run against, and 2 catches for 25 yards. He's their guy if Carson is out still. Still had 10 rushes for 44 and a touchdown in week 4 while Carson was playing. Worthy stash and start if Carson is out. All right, say it ain't so, Nee Michael. That's his nickname for him. So Sony Michelle or Michael, however you pronounce that last name, got dropped after his fumbles down to 49%, but he's clearly the guy who when Henderson is hurt, which will unfortunately happen because he can't stay healthy. 11 carries for 37 yards and a touchdown against the Seahawks, and one catch for 8 yards. I think it's a committee for the Rams until Henderson is banged up. Definitely worth a spot on your bench. All right, Alex. Who does Alex have for us? Rondell Moore, 37% owned. He needs to be rostered everywhere. He is already breaking out right now, man. Rondell Moore, I can't believe he is available because that kid has flashed. He has flashed. He's going to keep picking it up. So go ahead and grab him. And then finally, Joe. Who does Joe have for us? Joe has for us Kadarius Toney. He is an obvious one here, and that's if Joe Judge lets him see the field again. ESPN shows him as still surprisingly only being carried by 12.2% of rosters. The dude just put up 180 yards receiving and is clearly the Giants' number one wide receiver threat. It's not an exaggeration to point out that he looked like a young Odell Beckham Jr. and was ranked as number 8 this week in yards after catch. All right. He's also on a wide receiver court that is injured. He put corp, and it made me think of corpse because there's a lot of corpses in that wide receiver room. Well, anyway, he's also on a wide receiver core that is injured and has a history of being injured. He also throws a pretty good punch. I wouldn't say it was an open-handed. I'm a Cowboys fan, so I enjoyed seeing him get a little flustered, him and Will Hernandez. But that being said, even with a backup quarterback throwing to him in yesterday's game, or rather Sunday's game, he put up big-time yards. So Kadarius Toney is a pickup. All right, for the second week in a row, I'm going to bang the drum for Josh Gordon. ESPN is showing him as on 24.6% of rosters. I believe that he only had one reception in last night's game against the Bills, but that's not a surprise since it was his first game on an NFL field in a while. The Chiefs are not looking like the Chiefs, and they're going to need Gordon's big play ability. He may not have anything left, but I'm willing to bet that he does since his body has not suffered NFL wear and tear over the past few years. He's still only 30, and he's playing with Mahomes. If you're stacked in wide receiver, then don't bother. But if not, then you should at least get Gordon on your bench. I have a very strong feeling that Mahomes-Gordon is going to be a flaming hot connection within weeks. All right, so short and sweet. Those are some players that we believe you should pick up. All right, pick them up. Hopefully they help your rosters. Hopefully you do well this week. Hopefully you are doing well regardless. Check out toiletsandtitles.com. We have all of our start sit articles in there. We got our DFS article in there. We have our weekly wrap-ups in there. Everything's at toiletsandtitles.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please hit the like button on any episodes. Comment on the episodes. Hit the bell so you're alerted when we go live. We go live tonight, 8:40 p.m. for a weekly fantasy football show. And then we have like 6 or 7 other shows on a weekly basis. If you're listening to this, you already know about all that. All right. And if you have a podcast, subscribe, throw us a review. That really helps us out because we're trying to get out there to eyes and to ears. And again, patreon.com/toiletsandtitles. Tier 1 is $3. Get you into our group chat. And that's the lowest level. And we'd really appreciate the support. Tier 2, Tier 3. I described them earlier in the show, so you know all about that. So that's it. All right, week 6 is here. Let's dominate. Let's win some fantasy matchups. Let's dominate the waiver wire. Let's have a good week. So I will catch you all later tonight, 8:40 p.m., giving away that Jonathan Taylor jersey.